This is Off Track.
My mom's in town visiting.
Tell her we say hello. Right now.
How are you guys doing?
Right now.
No.
Tell her. Oh my God. Don't make me like text your mom to say hello.
Okay.
And that
they say hello. You don't have her number. She doesn't have your number. You don't want her to have your number.
You don't know that.
Alex does. You don't want her to have that.
I would love to have Joan's number.
To be fair, Larry uses my number more than Joan.
So there was a race.
Family time. There was a race, but we're not going to talk about the race because that's what Thursdays are for. This is Tuesday, so we have an interview with the one and only James Hinchcliffe.
I was like, wait, what?
Rules analyst. No, so there was some big news that came out after the race. Huge news, big news, big implications. Wow.
Large and in charge news that both the McLaren drivers were disqualified, which in and of itself is big news. They finished second and fourth. But the fact that Max won, and when you look at the championship, that now puts Max less than a race win out of the lead with 2 races plus a sprint to go, which is insanity and hilarious and awesome. I want it to be known, Alex already pointed this out. Yes, I am technically wearing a Red Bull hoodie right now. That was purely coincidence. It was at the top of my sweatshirt pile when I got dressed this morning, and so I just grabbed it, and I did not really appreciate that we were going to be recording this today and talking on this very discussion. But
on that note, did you spend good hard-earned American dollars yourself on buying a Red Bull F1 hoodie? It was given
yes, it was given to me.
Okay.
And it was given to me year one. It's actually a Vegas special edition, coincidentally enough.
Right. No, I was just curious. Like, have you ever purchased motorsport?
Not for
merch?
myself.
Right.
Oh, like for any motorsport? Yeah, I bought this hat at a hard card wielding discount.
But still,
I bought a decent amount of stuff from the IMS store.
Okay,
I get stuff as
you've
gifts
worn
for
yourself and not given as a gift. Okay, all right.
Yeah, several hats.
It'll probably shock you to know that I have not.
It does not.
Yeah, big shock, huge shock.
Right.
Massive shock. Look at the shocked look on my face. Anyway, the penalty. There's been so much discussion online about it. And so as two non-engineers, we figured we're the perfect people to break down exactly what happened and why.
Don't forget I'm here.
Well, you're going to be leading the discussion. We're just going to answer questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll answer your guys' questions on the penalty and everything.
All right. So, Alex, the skid was too thin. What does that mean?
The floor.
Where's the skid?
The floor was too low, James, is what that means.
Okay. What is a skid?
The skid is the thing that skids on the ground.
Okay. So maybe a little more detail.
The skid is, okay. How do I, here we go. So the bottom of the car generates a lot of downforce, from the floor, which is also known as the diffuser, right? And that is usually made out of carbon. No, it's not. It is made out of carbon fiber. The lower, there's levels to the floor. So you've got the main structure is the carbon floor diffuser. Then the next lower level is a piece of wood. And that is there to protect the carbon part of the floor. Below that in Formula One, there's actually titanium little blocks that create the spark shows that we have come so used to seeing. But that is not for any sort of performance or protection thing. That is purely an aesthetic feature. But so that's the lowest point on the car. But above that is a wood plank strip that runs from the beginning of the floor to not quite the furthest end of the floor, but call it 70% of the surface area of the floor is protected by this wood. And the lower the cars run, in theory, the more downforce they generate, the more efficient downforce they generate from the bottom of the car. There are rules in place by the series to limit how low cars run. And the way that they can police that is by deeming a minimum skid thickness at the end of a race. So that prevents a team from lowering the car way more than another team and getting an advantage. I say that in air quotes because it's not always an advantage, but getting some sort of advantage from a team that is not wearing their skid as much. So that is what a skid is in the simplest terms that I can describe it. And it is used as a protection against the floor, but also as a policing device for the series. Is that a decent summary?
Let's put it this way. Tim, do you understand what he's saying?
I get it a little bit more now. So
Yeah.
it's not so much that a thin skid gave them an advantage. It's the thing that potentially gave them the advantage would have worn the skid out more.
There you go.
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense.
The lower ride height means you hit the ground more, means the skid comes in too thin. So the skid in F1 starts at 10 mil, and you are allowed to wear 1 millimeter of thickness. So there are 4 points, I believe, that they measure, like predetermined points of the floor at different parts of the floor that they measure post race, and you are allowed I want to say it's 0.2 mil leeway. So essentially anywhere from 9.2 to 8.8 is kind of like within that. I guess you wouldn't, being above doesn't matter. So basically it's 8.8 is kind of like the tolerance that they allow. So it's 1 mil wear plus a 0.2 tolerance. So
and before you continue, this isn't just an F1 thing. Like a lot of different racing series use this as a rule. So this isn't some strange one-off sort of situation.
I've been disqualified from second place for this exact infraction.
You sure have.
I sure have. So I know this pain
You
well.
dirty cheater.
And as much as I like to give you for your disqualification, very similar circumstances caused this to unfold.
Very similar.
So why don't you explain what those circumstances are, James?
So how a team prevents this from happening normally is throughout practice, at some point, you will load the car up with fuel and you will go do a long run. You will then look at the data and assess how much the car has been striking the ground, how much wear there was with the amount of laps that you've done, and kind of extrapolate that throughout the 50 laps in this case of a Grand Prix. So you know how much is going to wear and you can set your ride heights accordingly. They take so many things into consideration, right? You got to factor in your tire pressures. You got to factor in the fuel burn. You got to factor in the temperature because that affects the air density, which affects the downforce. And there are like 1,000 things you have to take into account when you are calculating how low to run the car to not wear the skid past that 1 mil tolerance. In Vegas, it was a bit of a unique circumstance because, first of all, it's a straight circuit, which means that the track evolution, or how much faster the track goes session over session, is quite high. What that changes is how quick you're cornering can sometimes affect how much the floor hits in certain places. So as the track speeds up, normally the ride heights need to come up as well, because the faster you go, essentially, the more you're going to drag the floor on the ground. In F1, traditionally, they do a lot of their full fuel running in FP2, second practice. Every session in Vegas was disrupted by something. And in FP2, it was just a lot of red flags, and most teams didn't get a chance to do a lot of laps on full fuel to get the necessary data to make their call. This exact same thing in the reverse happened to McLaren in Austin. So in Austin, it was a sprint race, so only get one practice. They don't do a lot of long running in that sprint race practice. They use the sprint race essentially as their practice to get their data for the Grand Prix. Sort of well-known, well-documented after Austin, the cars weren't very fast in the race, and they said part of that was because they went very conservative on ride heights because they got taken out in the first corner of the sprint race and didn't get a lot of useful data at a track that's very bumpy and wears skids, and we've actually seen cars disqualified for this at Austin in the past. Fast forward to Vegas. They obviously thought they had done enough. This was not a case where they went in unknowing or feeling like they didn't know, or else they would have gone the conservative route like they did in Austin. There could be a combination of factors. I mean, there is a combination of factors that led to this. But they were aware that it was going to be a problem, which is why late in the race, Lando was slowing down 3 to 4 seconds a lap. It's because they wanted him to lift at the end of the straights, because at the end of the straights, you're going the fastest, which means you're having the most downforce on the car. It's getting pushed down and it drags the floor. So he had to whatever it was, 15-second margin to George Russell. So he started slowing up 2, 3, 4 seconds a lap by lifting at the end of the straights to try to mitigate the damage to the floor. Ultimately, it wasn't enough. And the double disqualification is a result. The amount that they were beyond tolerance was something like 0.12 of a mil.
Which I believe they were quick to point out is less than the width of the average human hair.
Correct. So when people online are like, oh my God, what a massive screw up from these guys. I just want to put in perspective that we're talking about the difference in the width of a human hair here. So while yes, it's a screw up.
Like Tim's or mine?
Good call. Tim's, I think are about 4 times the thickness of the average human hair.
So like that's a pretty big mess up if it was Tim's hair.
Yeah, this is not a Tim hair. This is an Alex or a James hair for sure.
Got it. Yeah.
That thin?
Yeah. That thin. I get it, man. You're pushing to win Formula One races. You've got to maximize everything. I think the criticism of the team's a little bit harsh because Ferrari's been docked for this. Mercedes has been docked for this. Sauber's been docked for this. But Alex, I want to ask you your opinion sort of on, because one of the things going around, the opinion of a lot of people is they've already won the constructors. Lando's got a, whatever it was, gap in the drivers' championship. Why not be a little bit conservative if there's any question mark?
Well, I think you already hit the nail on the head. I don't think there was a question mark, because I don't know that their mindset is any different than that. I think this is just an opinion and a theory that I have generated since you were kind of explaining all this. I wonder if Austin had anything to play into it, being as though they were like, man, we way overshot last time that we had a question mark. So we have a question mark still because we had limited running, but like, let's not make the same mistake we made in Austin. Lando's on pole, Max is second. Like we can't really afford to just give one away. So let's not be stupid here, but let's not take the same sort of steps we did in Austin. I wonder if that is actually what was their demise more than anything else. Had Austin never happened, they probably would have been just fine. So I wonder if, the butterfly effect, right? The cause and effect of every choice we make. Had Lando and Oscar not been taken out by Hulk, well, it wasn't taken out by anyone. Had the racing incident in Austin, turn 1 sprint race, which we shouldn't even have, okay? If the thing that Max thinks we shouldn't have, i.e. sprint races, is what caused both McLarens to go out and caused them both to suck in Austin, which ultimately led to their DQ in Vegas, all of which potentially is going to hand Max a championship. It's very interesting.
It is. That's such a good point, though. Did they just get, whatever the opposite of gun shy, I guess overconfident based on coming up short in Austin? And again, but this is what I want to just stress to people. The margins that we're talking about are so small. They are so tiny. It's now look, and a very good defense is, but the other 9 teams did it fine. Yep. 100%. I'm not saying they didn't make a mistake.
That's usually how it works. It's very rare that 4 teams get disqualified.
Correct. It's going to be so fascinating to see what comes out of that from the sense of, their processes and procedures moving forward for that type of thing. But now this begs the question, because Lando went into that race 24 points ahead of Oscar and 40, whatever it was, 9 points ahead of Max. So
it was going to be the de facto lead car, favorite car.
There's so many elements to this. Correct. So Max could have been eliminated. Actually, to be fair, even if they finished and kept their points, Max wasn't eliminated. He still had, a 2-point buffer, but for all intents and purposes,
it was a lot harder.
Eliminated.
Yeah.
Now Max is within a race win, which is terrifying. He is tied
69 of them.
Yep. He sure does. As he made sure to point out on the podium. He is tied with Oscar.
Nice.
Tied with Oscar. And with the momentum that Red Bull has right now, you've got to think that they're going to be favorites over the next 2 weekends. Even though the track in Qatar should, in theory, favor the McLaren a little bit more, Max is just so good and the Red Bull has gotten better. So I don't know if that's even the case anymore. So if you are McLaren, even though you have said time and time again, we're going to let them race until one of them is mathematically out of it, with the threat of Max, with the mistakes that have been made by the team, with the gap that Lando has over Oscar and the momentum and pace that Max have now, do you prioritize Lando and kind of break your own rule and say, look, I know Oscar's not mathematically out of it, but he's realistically in a tough spot given everything, et cetera?
Okay. So I see your point. I disagree.
I'm not saying that's my stance. I'm just asking the question.
Well, I would have said that was a much clearer position for them to take for the past two-ish, call it 2 events. Now, I don't think you can do that because Oscar, quite frankly, has his, okay, no, you can't say that Lando has a bet. If you're concerned, if you're so concerned with Max, right? And we all know that probably Max is better than Oscar, but still, Oscar's in a better car. So if you're so concerned that Max is potentially going to steal this away from Lando, Oscar's the same amount of points back. So you can't then, if you think it's that viable that Lando can be caught, you can't prioritize Lando over Oscar at this point. You got to give Oscar the same sort of shot.
Right. But then it's because that would be admitting that you think that Max is better than Oscar. Yeah, like that's admitting to your own driver that, hey, we don't have faith that you can do what he could do.
I bet at this point Oscar admits that. Which one of the 20 drivers don't admit that? You look at the last 6-7 weekends. He's outscored him by like 100 points. Well, it's insane.
So it's if you're Oscar and they come to you and say that, it's almost hard to argue. But so look at it this way, because this was an interesting point that was brought up, and it was the only thing that made me cut. Because like again, you've had this stance, and I actually interviewed Zach over the weekend, and he brought up a great point, which was this let him race rule is not a Zach Brown rule. This is a McLaren philosophy. It's been like that forever. That's how they lost the championship in 2007, right? And he said, he and Andrea Stella have said, happy to lose the championship the right way. Not happy, but like a risk we're willing to take. But a great point was made.
It's easy to say that when you have a 104-point lead in the World Drivers' Championship. But yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So a great point was made. After the summer break, after Lando has his mechanical at Zandvoort, and Oscar's got a 34-point lead, everyone said, you got to back Piastri, like stick with him, blah, 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 blah. Time has shown that was an ill-advised approach back then, because that would be not a great situation now. But you look at the fact that a mechanical issue from the team robbed him of second place and 18 points in Zandvoort. A mechanical discrepancy in setup in Vegas cost him second place and 18 points in Vegas. So he's net down 36 points, which means that he should have had Max. Actually, he would have won the championship. Now, that's not true because let's say Oscar wasn't also disqualified this weekend, right? So Oscar keeps his whatever points and Lando keeps his whatever points. So Oscar's still in it, but Max is eliminated. Max isn't even a threat. He's mathematically out of it because that would be 58 points available. Are you saying that Max
had zero mechanical DNFs this year? Because that's an irrelevant point you're making if he did.
I don't remember. The only DNF I remember him having was Austria when he got taken out by Antonelli on the first lap.
Okay. Well,
that's
that
all I can
his
think
fault?
of offhand. No. But I'm saying from the team standpoint, the team, McLaren has cost Lando 36 points.
Right. I understand what you're saying.
So there's an argument to be made where they kind of owe him 36 points. And so maybe the best way to do that is to prioritize him over Oscar, because what I will say is you look at Oscar's run of form, like the last few races, last 6-7 races, it doesn't matter because Oscar was never ahead of Lando. So there's nothing you can do to prioritize. Qatar is a very good track for Oscar, and a lot of people are expecting him to be very strong there. If we get there and Lando's quicker in practice and qualifies better, this is a moot point anyway. But this is a track that people are predicting him to be maybe a lot closer on par, maybe even a bit better than Lando. And if that situation arises, what do you do? It's fascinating. I'm with you. You've planted your flag on this let them race thing. I agree with that. But I do see some of the counterpoints. I do see some of the arguments as to letting it go.
Here's the thing. They can do whatever they want. Max is winning this thing. So there's your moot point. It doesn't matter. He's done so much at this point. It's not gonna, the train ain't stopping.
The championship, I think, is going to be decided by Mercedes and Ferrari. Because if Max wins and these guys keep finishing second, it's, he doesn't get it. But if Max wins, which again, I do think he will, I think he can easily sweep the last 58 points available. And it's not about Max winning or not. It's about, can Leclerc get in there? Can Russell get in there? Can these guys mix it up and take points away from McLaren?
What I'm telling you is this will be I don't think it's an exact example, but was it Massa who lost the championship in 08 or whatever? Like when it starts coming like this, and let's say if Max puts on pole for sprint racing guitar and if he wins, I just don't think, I think the stuff's going to happen. I think that the amount of pressure and the realization that this is slipping through your fingers will be too high. And so I don't know that I agree with, in theory, what you're saying. Of course, the way math works, they can't just finish second to finish out the season. But if Max continues and stepping on their throats like he's doing, because we'll talk about it on Thursday, because forget plank wear, setup, whatever aside, Max owned everyone once again from lap 1, turn 1. So if he just keeps that going, I don't know if anyone, I'm not talking about Lando and Oscar. I don't know if anyone can handle that. So
any human being on Earth. It's a great point, and it's going to be fun to watch. But man, I can't imagine how much sleep the Andrea Stellas and Zach Browns of the world lost on Saturday night
on
in
that
Vegas.
topic. I thought it was very cool and something that is very un F1, where once the penalty came out, the statement from the team and Andrea was essentially, we're sorry to the drivers because we let them down. We made a mistake, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of the times it's, a team statement in this instance will be, we respect the steward's decision. We will be appealing, or we respect the steward's decision, and on to whatever. This was apologetic to their two drivers, to their partners, to the fans, and taking full responsibility, which is just not something you see very much of. So,
dude, I gotta say, Andrea Stella's he's a gangster. That guy, he's very good at what he does, and he's got a humility and an awesomeness about him that, kind of to your point, it can sometimes be, you could look at it as maybe a little bit on F1, but I got a lot of time for that guy, as a lot of people do. So there you go. That's kind of the breakdown of that. As Alex mentioned, we're going to get into the race itself and some IndyCar news, some cool breaking stuff happened over the weekend.
We'll recap Nashville.
Whatever. We'll recap Nashville, and we'll tell everybody what we're thankful for. But until then, I don't know, do some stuff or not, whatever.
Yeah.
This has been Off Track with Hinch and Rossi. Off Track is part of the SiriusXM Sports Podcast Network. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, please give a 5-star rating and leave a review. Subscribe today wherever you stream your podcasts. We are at Ask Off Track on Twitter and Instagram, and if you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at Hinchtown and at Alexander Rossi. If you want to follow Tim, though we have no idea why you would, he's at the Tim Durham on Twitter. Find us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel for exclusive video content. Off Track is produced by Tim Durham, and by that we mean Tim.